Right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the DotA Procast. Episode number 10, I'm being told. This is episode number 10 here, so we made it to double digits finally. It took us a while. We had a little bit of a break, goes without saying, but it is going to be back talking some Dota 2, of course, competitive scene. Since it has been a little bit, maybe some new viewers perhaps, who knows? Point is, I want to let you guys know, essentially a Dota 2 competitive podcast. We focus on talking about the competitive scene, things that have happened, things that are upcoming, and I look forward to another great show ahead of us here. I'm BreakyCPK, one of your two hosts, always joined by the beautiful Elevated. That's the first word that came to mind. I don't know why, man. How's it going, man?
Hello. Good. Sorry, I was just doing my due diligence or my duty and tweeting out the podcast to make sure that we get people here.
Damn straight. Make sure. We got some viewers already popping in chat. Also, there's no delay on the stream. That's
we can actually talk to people.
We can talk to people. So what's up, Method Quando? I see you in chat right there, and the others. Yeah, usually they have a delay on because it's the Beyond the Summit stream, obviously, and a lot of matches going on and everything, but not right now. We're in a little bit of a lull, I guess you can call it, but it's for good reason, because as we're going to talk about on the show, we just wrapped up with the DreamLeague Minor, and we got the now Kuala Lumpur Major to look forward to. So here we are in between events, and going to both do a recap and a preview. As a result, also going to be doing our personal rankings once again. In fact, it was the last show we did a personal rankings. And since it was about a month and a half now since our last show, I think it's time to do another one. So we're going to have some fun with that as well on top of it all. But
more importantly, we get to see who is more right.
That's
what really matters.
Yeah, that's kind of a good point. It's going to be interesting to look back at terms of what we voted in the past and how they shaped up here. Complexity, a little rocky there. We'll talk about that later on, though, of course. All right, so I figure what makes sense, of course, to start with the DreamLeague Minor. So getting right into it, the DreamLeague Minor, of course, an event that took place, started last week. It went throughout the whole week. First DPC event of the season. It feels like we've already honestly been a fair amount into the season, but no, this actually was the first event. Of course, it is a more, not condensed, but there's less events, so maybe that's why it kind of feels that way, but point is, first minor of the season, points on the line, being a minor event. Of course, there was the 8 teams, and ultimately the one champion, and that champion ended up being Tigers out of Southeast Asia, the roster, of Ajit, In Your Dream, Mumianer, Zephyr, and 1437. As a result of that, of course, they are going to the Kuala Lumpur Major now, which starts in the next week here, but all right, so with all of that in mind, the DreamLeague Minor, I want to ask you, Elevate, what did you think of this event and how it all played out here?
Well, from a production standpoint, it was all 100% DreamLeague, which is kind of like a brand in and of itself, which is something that I personally really enjoy. It's more of a laid-back thing. I really like their studio, and you know, they had a good mix of the kind of like the old school, like Fogged, OD, Sheever, of course, and then they brought in Moxie. They had Bulldog there, and Kyle as well. So they had like a kind of nice mix of the talent.
A very different, very diverse cast of talent, that's for sure, yeah.
Yeah, and so, I don't know, I thought that the event itself was fine for a minor. Like, they don't need to have, you know, a full stadium for a minor event, although that might happen at some of these, who knows. As far as the Dota, I think that it was definitely what you would expect probably from a minor, which is good Dota, but also stuff like there were definitely some differences, and especially from top to bottom. There were some pretty significant differences between like the top 4 and some of the bottom teams as well in terms of like ability and strategy and skill.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, okay, yes, I think that point is very valid, and I agree, and it definitely had that minor feel in the sense of this isn't the toppest of tier competition, but I will say, to play a little bit of devil's advocate there, it was so frustrating sometimes seeing comments, whether it was a Reddit post or, you know, in Twitch chat, about like these are tier 3, 4 teams, you know, no wonder they're playing like shit, and I'm just like thinking to myself, like, these aren't like that bad of teams, guys. These are very legit teams in the end. I mean, we're talking about top 20, top 15 teams in some cases, right? So it's not like this was bad Dota by any means, but absolutely being a minor event, and again, I think people would agree, as sound like you're saying there, it definitely felt like a minor when it did come to the competition and the teams that were playing in it. So.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not trying to like, crap on any of the teams. I think that they're all amazing Dota players. Obviously, like they're in the professional scene for a reason. They qualified for a minor on the DPC for a reason. It just wasn't like that clean of an event as far as like the games. It didn't really ever feel like any of the teams was like, here's our gameplay. It wasn't like a PSG LDD against Liquid game at TI, where it was just like so clean.
Yeah.
This team is just like so far ahead. There were obviously some holes in the drafts. There were holes in like the going high ground as far as their moves around the map. But ultimately, that does create a very exciting brand of Dota as well. And I was thoroughly entertained by the games and just the cast in general.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you there. Entertainment. I mean, I didn't get to catch it all, obviously, but the bits and pieces that I did get to catch. In fact, I actually ended up watching more of the group stages, to be honest. The bracket stage, I was a little busy and personal life stuff. But even through the group stages, it was an entertaining format. The idea of, it was really simple, a GSL, but everyone qualified for this double elimination and playoff here. Of course, the bottom two go to the losers. That typical style, it seems like, has become almost the norm format, or the best format, I guess you could say, in a lot of these events. But let's focus on the positive first here. Again, the fact that Tigers ultimately won it all. And this is a team going into the season where, I mean, I personally liked this squad. And, in fact, talking about the rankings, I want to say in fact, where did I have them in my rankings? Let me see. Let me pull it up real quickly. I had them fourth. Oh no, that was you. You had them fourth. I had them fourth.
We both had them fourth.
Okay.
We both had them fourth.
We both had them fourth. All right. Point is, so yeah, had them fourth place coming into this season right here. Again, Moon Meander for me, it's always been a fun player to watch, and In Your Dreams is up and coming mid player. Ajit, I've always been impressed by when it comes to numbers, especially. This dude seems like a great carry player that puts up big numbers. And it all came together here behind the captaining of 1437, of course, and we know what his experience brings to the table. So I got to say, for what I watched, I was never, kind of going back to your point, I was never overly impressed by Tigers necessarily in terms of their play, but, I mean, overall, they were able to win it in the end. Now, it wasn't an easy run. You do look, they had to go 2-1 against Complexity, 2-1 against RNG, and then 3-2, of course, in the grand finals against Na'Vi. But victors nonetheless. So, props to them. I still stand by. I don't think this is like, if this event was to repeat, would they win it again? Probably not. But at the same time, they won it this time around, and that's what matters, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that they were the strongest team at the event. After the group stages, I actually really liked what I saw from Complexity. I thought that Complexity going into the event was probably the best team, just because I think that Scam had brought some really good stuff to their team. Then group stages seemed to support that. But then there was, his drama that happened in between the groups and during the upper bracket, basically.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to blame it on that, but like the pressure of he was the youngest person there, I believe. And it was his first real LAN, and he made this kind of like personal error in judgment and was getting a lot of flack from the community. And quickly thereafter, Complexity didn't look nearly as good. So I don't know. Once it got to the brackets, I thought it was going to be either Complexity or Tigers that won. And once Complexity fell to the lower bracket, Tigers was definitely my number one pick to take the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point there, and I do think it actually. Now, I would be curious. Something tells me. Okay. So where I'm going, I'm staying on the topic of Scrum there with the. The comment that he made within the game. For those that may not have known, he basically made a derogatory term towards RNG and their players, being a Chinese team. Said a derogatory term in the game. At the beginning of the game, said, good luck, and then the word. So it was a bit of a backlash right away. I will say, Beef, of course, one of the managers for Complexity, he sent out a tweet and said they were taking care of it, and Complexity was on top of it as far as penalizing him, I guess, or doing some kind of discipline right there behind the scenes. But I got to believe that it was brought up maybe even after the first game happened, and that possibly got to it. It wouldn't be surprising, because you're right, he is a younger player, and maybe just the team atmosphere as a whole definitely took a hit right there, because that was a series that I did watch in the playoffs. One of the few, actually, I got the chance to catch myself. And I do remember feeling like Complexity just got a bit tilted going into Game 3 or going into Game 2 and then Game 3 right there. So where for the groups, they looked hot. Of course, they went 2-0, ultimately 4-0 in their individual games. But they lost RNG, and then they got knocked out by Infamous. Infamous, a team I would not have expected to do so and go as far as they did, frankly. But they not only beat Runes, but then Complexity, and then matched up against Na'Vi, and of course losing to them. But I guess going now to the disappointing side, on top of maybe the Complexity, you could argue. TFT for me was by far the biggest disappointment for this event. The final tribe, they got 7th, 8th place, and this is a team not only that I personally highly value, and I have going into the season as far as being a decent team and obviously a good group of players coming together, and of course I have history with them, yada yada. And on their home soil on top of that, playing in Sweden and everything. But getting knocked out by the Vega Squadron after losing 2-1 to RNG to ultimately go to the lower bracket from the groups. They played okay, but definitely not the finish I expected to see from them in this event.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, their performance. I think basically even at the WSOE event, which you casted, they have a team that seems to have good potential. They seem to have a decent grasp on the early game and get off to decent starts, but then transitioning towards the mid and late game, they tend to make what looks like a lot of either strategic or mental errors, and just can't really close out games as cleanly as you would like them to, if you're a fan of TFT. And so that just kind of reared its ugly head again, I think, at this event. I would say that Group B was definitely the harder of the groups because you had Tigers, RNG, and TFT there. Obviously, their one win was against Runes. But I thought they were a top 4 team at this tournament. And getting knocked out by Vega Squadron, who had Dendy standing in for them after Vega went 0-4 in group stages, was a pretty rough way to go out, especially like you said, with that home field advantage, quote unquote, or maybe it was home field pressure, to be perfectly honest.
That's one way to look at it too. Yeah, and it's interesting watching. I think Era specifically, he likes to tweet in these Nordic messages, essentially talking about how they're Vikings and they're gonna represent their country, fight off all these the invaders coming in and take the and he's having fun with it and everything. But I think you're right. I think maybe some of the pressure was there too, and perhaps got to them. But I still am expecting TFT to ultimately do somewhat well if that season picks up here. But it has been a rough start between WSOE and now here in the first minor of the season, as we're mentioning. So that is right. Yeah, that's worth bringing up too. Dendy was standing in for Vega Squadron right there as their 5th. Of course, Mage, he actually had visa issues at the last minute, and as a result, remember, they do get penalized, 40% penalty as far as their points are concerned. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit later on in the show, of course, with the Kuala Lumpur major and something that happened over there. But before we get into that as well,
we gotta talk about Na'Vi, right? Everybody wants us to talk about Na'Vi.
Okay, yeah, talk about Na'Vi here. Obviously, they got to the grand finals, and they were very close as far as becoming the champions. They were up 2-1 in that best-of-5 series, but ultimately falling short. I mean, they had a hell of a run. They obviously lost to Tigers in the upper bracket initially, and then had that run in the lower. So I mean, they did look good. And unlike TFT and the opposite, I do not expect a lot out of this team. I've just been so disappointed, as many have been over the years with Na'Vi, but they played solid.
Yeah, I had no idea really what kind of player Magical was, and he definitely had some pretty standout games. I mean, he went 16-0-14 against Royal Never Give Up on Invoker as perhaps his best game of the tournament. And
it's ridiculous.
I agree that I never really had much expectation for this new Na'Vi roster. This is a team that's kind of been in the squalor for a while, and it didn't really seem like they made any real strides as far as their pickups. Blizzy definitely looks like a good talent and potential, standout talent coming out of CIS going forward, but You know, the Crystallized Sonico duo obviously has potential. This is a team that has talent, but we've never really seen them put it together. So, I mean, it was cool to see them winning, and especially beating a Chinese team that was pretty high skilled, with the likes of Monet and Afu as well.
Oh, RNG, but, yeah, another team that very, very good team themselves. Absolutely.
I think ultimately one of the things that I did want to, or a point that I wanted to make was that when I was looking and writing up a preview of this event, I will say that Tigers had the most games as a squad. And I think that kind of showed, like, they were able to pull together, obviously going down 2-1 to Na'Vi in the grand finals and coming back and winning the last 2 games. It also seemed like they genuinely had a good grasp on what they wanted to do in most of the games. And though they weren't necessarily the cleanest, they seemed to really kind of be on the same page for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, Na'Vi had to play quite a bit themselves, obviously getting knocked out in that first round, then having to play a couple more series before getting back to the grand finals, matched up against Tigers right there. So I was showing on screen for a second, too, for those that were wondering. This was the game 5 of the grand finals right there, kind of just recapping that. Of course, it won it in the end for Tigers. And, I mean, you're talking about an Invoker from earlier that was impressive on the side of Na'Vi over there, but on the side of Tigers in this game 5, I'm talking about Ajit, man. This guy's good. 14-0-20 on Marana. I mean, that's an insane stat line to secure a championship match. Obviously, this was a match that got out of hand pretty quickly at the same time, so, you know, a little bit skewed. I'm not going to overreact at the same to a stat necessarily, but it's he really has, over these last couple of years that I've been in the scene, he's kind of one of these dark horse players, I feel like, that Tigers is lucky to have as a carry player. And
yeah, he's always been a beast. I mean, I remember back on Warriors Gaming Unity that he was definitely the standout there. I believe along with Afu.
Yes, it was Ajit and Afu, yeah.
Yeah. And also they have, you know, In Your Dream, who's like the standout, probably the best Indonesian player in the world. That sounds kind of weird. The best Indonesian player, period.
Indonesia,
he's number 1 on the leaderboard in SCA. And he looked, you know, flashes of brilliance, I think, in the Kuala Lumpur major qualifiers, but never really looked that comfortable. But I think as this team develops, I'm actually really excited to see how this team develops with the likes of Moon Meander and 1437 providing that leadership and kind of backbone for these really young, talented SEA players.
Yeah, you know, we'll see later on. I don't know if I'm like gonna rate them higher than the Fnatic and the TNC just yet by any means. So when it comes to Southeast Asia specifically, but I mean they're obviously gonna get their chance to prove it as well. Here they are. They go to the Kuala Lumpur major, and you talk about Ajit. He's actually from Malaysia himself, so it's gonna be a nice home territory for him. And obviously, as a team being in Southeast Asia, they're all going to be somewhat near home in that sense. So that's got to feel pretty good. Obviously, not only winning the minor, but then qualifying for the major on top of that. Too bad they don't qualify for the DreamLeague major. That was also that would make a little more sense, right? But not with how the circuit is set up here. That was another note that came out from the event. On the last day, they announced the DreamLeague major is going to be happening. It's going to be the 3rd major of the season. There will be a second one in between. Again, we'll talk about that later on too. But the DreamLeague major is going to be 3rd major in March, I believe, is when they were talking about. So that should be good. It is going to be in Stockholm, of course, with the DreamLeague studio setup and everything. So look forward to that already. And being a major, I do wonder, because as we mentioned at the beginning here, are they going to keep this all? I mean, they're going to keep the meme theme to an extent. That's like their thing, you know, having Bulldog and stuff, and this whole panelist they're actually in slacks. But being a major, I'm curious. So will they maybe step up the the professionalism a little bit, or will they keep it light?
I think
fun?
Don't they have to do it in a stadium if it's a major? I don't know if that's an actual rule. But
I do think you're right, actually. I do think that was one of the requirements for a major. So
I feel like it actually has to have like a venue for people to attend.
Yes, I think it has to, exactly. But that still doesn't mean they're going to be professional. That doesn't. I mean, right? Like I can see them
professional in their own way.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I'm not saying they should be. Like I said, I'm just curious if they do that or not.
Right.
But
it'd be kind of weird to see, you know, a less casual DreamLeague.
Yeah. The only team we didn't really talk about, I guess, is Runes. They had a rough one. Runes, to me personally, Runes was the only team that felt like I hate to say it, just didn't even belong. I know that they were coming off. They've been traveling quite a bit, and maybe were tired. Whatever excuse you want to make. Obviously, a couple of their players were at an event that we happen to be at in Canada, casting for the WESG Canadian Finals there, which they ended up having to disqualify themselves from qualifying. That's a whole other story. But point is, they had a last-minute flight out to then go to Sweden from Canada, and again, not many excuses for them, but something was off. I'm not expecting a lot out of Runes this season, frankly, but I was hoping at least a little better competition from them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think they basically just got outdrafted and then outplayed as well in pretty much every game. But that's, I guess, to be expected. I think we have kind of realized that the NA region is very, very top heavy and falls off pretty significantly after, forward and EG.
Yeah. That it does. All right. So that's pretty much wraps up the Dream League as far as what happened there. Nothing else I could really think of here. So that leads us then into the Kuala Lumpur Major, which, of course, is going to be taking place. And, in fact, it starts in 3 days. So that's a Friday, right? Yeah. It starts on the 9th. I know. Well, this is that point of the season where it really starts. Not kind of, because, again, they are spread out a little bit, but it'll start really ramping up here is the idea. All right, so on your screen you'll see, again, obviously using the great website that is Liquipedia. Got the Kuala Lumpur Major. So it's 16 teams, Tigers being the last team, the last minute. Thus they won the minor. They're going to the Major. As a reminder, you see the teams in front of you. I'm not going to go over all of them. Maybe I should, actually, because people that do listen audio only. All right, Secret, NIP, Alliance from Europe. You have Virtus Pro and Gambit Esports from CIS. Gambit, formerly known as Furzy, you might remember. Out of China, you have PSG LGD, Vici Gaming, and Team Aster. Another one of these new China squads as far as the logo and team goes. I mean, it's players, not necessarily. Fnatic and TNC out of Southeast Asia. Evil Geniuses and Forward Gaming out of North America, as well as J-Storm. So there were 3 teams, that's right, out of North America. And then Pain Gaming and Pain X out of South America, joined by Tigers now to round up the 16. So there we go. We got these 16 teams. What are you most looking forward to when it comes to Kuala Lumpur Major?
I'm really excited to see PSG LGD play finally. We saw them play a little bit, in the qualifiers, but other than that, they haven't done a whole lot. I think they did play in that one other Asian tournament that I believe Secret won, beating Fnatic, maybe. I don't even know if they played in that one or not, but this team's definitely been kind of taking it easy since TI, and so I'm really excited to see them back in an event, just because to me they were the most impressive team at TI. I think they were probably the best team last year, not named Virtus Pro for the entire season, and so I'm excited to see them play, and I'm also excited to see whether Secret can keep their run going, because we haven't talked about ESL, but obviously Secret won ESL Hamburg, and looked very good doing so.
That's true. That is true. Maybe we should actually reference that as well, and since it has been a while, it's just been so long, man.
Yeah, and also Evil Geniuses with their full squad, I'm excited to see, since
yes,
at Hamburg they had a stand-in, and Forward had a stand-in as well, because of visa issues.
Yeah, good old visa issues. It was the PvP Esports Championships, yeah, and they were there. LGD was there. Okay. They finished 3rd, 4th. Ultimately, they lost to Secret in the semifinals. That's right. But then, yeah, you're right with ESL as well. But yeah, so for me, seeing how these tier 2 teams and somebody call them, stack up against the big dogs on top. Obviously, I'm excited for the things that you said as well, but things like, Pain Gaming specifically out of South America, they've shown more and more that they really can compete with the best of the best through several events. So I'm hoping that we're going to see more out of them there. J-Storm, obviously, being a North American team, and what they can do as well. So I'm just excited, too, for a just full-fledged major again. ESL was a good event and everything, but, Facebook, so only so much from that. I had to watch Grant there, which was great. No, but this format, in fact, here, I'll show it on screen for you guys. So it's going to be 4 groups. It's four groups GSL format, so it's your mini kind of double elimination. And then every team advances on. It just a matter of bottom 2 go to the lower bracket, top 2 go to the upper bracket. So this is going to be a long event, and there's nothing wrong with that. It starts on Friday, and it ends the 18th, which is the following Sunday. So a 9-day tournament, and they need all those 9 days, it feels like.
Lots of dots.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Dota.
In classic style, though, we don't have any idea what the groups are yet.
I hate that, man. I did hear something that they're going to possibly be doing a stream. Which, dear God, why do orgs not do this? Like, it's not hard to do. Just some kind of simple stream to help hype up the event. But I haven't seen anything yet. And yeah, as we see here, nothing was filled in. So I don't know. There's really not much else to talk about there, unfortunately, with the groups not being filled out. There is a little bit, though, because there was some drama, I guess we can call it. Our good friend Peter Pan Dam made a tweet a couple days ago, or 2-3 days ago now, basically calling out Valve, essentially. Pretty much saying, so how it goes is, I wish I had this ready to show for you guys, but point is, essentially saying that 3-3, their offlane player, was unable to get a visa for the event. It's not, however, sometimes what a lot of times happens is the last minute, they just didn't get in time. He just straight up can't get one because of the country conflicts, in this case with Israel, that's where he's from, and Malaysia. When it comes to allowing people in from those respective countries, it doesn't work, unfortunately. So Peter was basically making a point that they should not get penalized, and he did try to contact them behind the scenes via email and everything. However, he never got a response. So he just took it upon himself to go public with it, which is completely understandable. And guess what? He got a response pretty quickly, apparently, and that response ended up being, okay, you're not going to be penalized. So they're not getting penalized. Mind Control, by the way, is replacing 3-3. Happens to be a pretty good replacement.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, I'm sure this is going to send Liquid fans also slightly into a little bit of a panic because their team continues to kind of be nowhere. You know, we had Matumba Man doing some other random event, and now MC standing for NIP. No official announcement really from Liquid as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as far as stand-ins go, you can't get any better than a TI champ.
Yeah, right. It's like exactly as far as the options that are available. This is absolutely the best that they can get. I'm with you there, though. On kind of a side note, real quickly, the Liquid, what the hell, man? These guys, they're dropping out of events that they're qualifying for. Obviously, because, again, they qualify for DreamLeague Minor, dropped out. That's why they weren't there. We haven't really gotten to see them play this whole season, so it's kind of makes you question what's going on right there. Is it some contract issues? Is there something more? I don't know. This whole rumor at this point, we can only speculate, I suppose, but something is most certainly up. In Kuroki we trust, says Togar the Great. Well, keep trusting, I guess. We'll see eventually.
Yeah, and one other interesting thing to note is that, I mean, I would say that NIP probably had the most disappointing performance at ESL out of any of the teams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe other people didn't rate them as highly, but I rated them very highly coming into the season, and I was expecting this team to come together really nicely. But now, after that kind of disappointing finish, now they're playing with the stand-in. It's like not really the way that a big org like NIP probably wants their season to start, I would say.
Yeah. So let's actually talk a little bit more about ESL, because you're going to bring that up. I was so focused on the DreamLeague just happening in Kuala Lumpur, but it's been a while since we've done the podcast, so we're referencing it anyways. Not much else to say about the KL Major coming up. You're right. Yeah, NIP got knocked out in the group stages. I do remember that, especially, being ultimately just behind Complexity, who did advance on to the playoffs as a result right there. So very disappointing for them. And then on the other side, Mineski and Alliance both falling short from the group stages. Ultimately, this event won by Secret, as you had mentioned earlier, as they defeated Avicii Gaming in another 5-game series. That's right. So both really big events this season have actually gone the distance when it comes to the grand finals. That's kind of cool to notice.
Yeah, it's good. That's what you want
Yeah.
tournament for sure.
That's pretty cool. But big name again, big team from this tournament though that I think surprised a lot of people, or maybe not. Either way, Pain Gaming, man. I mean, they got top 4. They had to beat Aster as well as Forward Gaming, very good Forward Gaming in the playoffs to do so. And I'm happy to see them doing that because they're really continuing to put South America on the map when it comes to competing at that top level.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say that beating Forward Gaming was a stretch. Obviously, Forward did not have Yawar. They were playing with Excalibur. And the stand-in in the mid-roll is something that we've seen heavily affected EG in this term as well. But Pain did look very good, and beating Aster specifically, who had looked incredible in the group stages. They looked almost unbeatable, just dominating people throughout most of the group stages.
Yeah.
And so when Pain beat them, that was a big deal. Of course, they ultimately lost to Secret, who ended up winning the entire event. But who knows? I would have loved to see Pain play against Virtus Pro in the lower bracket finals for its shot against Secret. That would have been a pretty hype game, I think, based on how the two teams play.
Absolutely. That would have been fun to watch for sure, but ultimately not the case. And again, Vici Gaming on the other side too. Looking pretty good themselves, and we are going to get to see them at Kuala Lumpur as they lost in that 5-game series, again going the distance against Team Secret. So, all right, yeah, I think once again that covers most of it. Yeah, the thing with ESL, I kind of took that stab earlier with the whole Facebook situation. It is such a bummer because even like I actually tried to go out of my way to watch on my smart TV, to download like a Facebook app to actually watch it on my smart TV. Yet that wasn't even working. And I'm just like, I'm trying Facebook. I'm trying to watch your events, but I can't. And so I ended up watching Gran and Mason and all those guys. And it was fun. But I would chime into the production and everything every once in a while on the Facebook stream just to kind of, I'm always interested by that. And it was good. They had Purge segments, of course. They brought that back. And their panels and everything. It was the Slack skits were great. I mean,
all the layered stuff in the actual cast.
That too, yeah.
Yeah, I thought production was really good. And to be honest, I mean, I watched most of it on the ESL site. I think it was like Watch ESL or something like that. And it just had a link to their stream. So I didn't try to access it through the actual Facebook client or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But viewership was obviously not. So I'm kind of curious to see how it ends up building. Obviously, Facebook is definitely trying to compete with YouTube and Twitch as far as a streaming platform and video hosting platform. But it's a pretty big shift.
I've heard, again, this is like a rumor. I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that their contract ends at the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken. So, and the idea that they would renew that is probably not likely considering how it went, you would figure, but who knows? So, maybe by the time the next ESL event rolls around, and we'll be back to Twitch, but we will see. I went to Hamburg for it. Great event. Yeah, no, again, I don't think anyone's digging the event at all as far as ESL goes, and what they put on in the tournament itself. The structure I thought was great, and everything else. So it really was a good tournament.
Yeah, they did away with those single elims from last year, and that was a huge deal.
That was a whoopsie moment. Okay, so, and again, as far as the Kuala Lumpur Major goes, I wish we had groups to at least talk about. Well, we don't even got that, unfortunately. Grant, speaking of him, he actually tweeted out that he was going to be streaming the group drawings of Kuala Lumpur Major yesterday. So that's why I thought they actually might have been out already. But I guess not. I don't know if that was a troll or if he thought and it was misinformed or what. But
interesting.
Yeah, it starts Friday, so they're probably going to do it tomorrow, I would assume. Go figure.
All right, well, who's your top 4 at the event, would you say?
That's true. I guess we can have a little bit of fun there. Top 4 at the event. God, yeah, being reminded about ESL, Secret did look really good. And, man, I can't. Another case, I just don't know if I saw this one coming, especially with Ace and Fata leaving the team. But I would have to put Secret in there, at least as one of the teams. Let's go with... let's go with. I kind of want to go. I kind of want to go Forward Gaming. He's
Forward.
got to get some NA
Interesting.
bias in there. Let's go Forward
right.
Gaming. We'll throw in LGD as well to get our 3, and then a 4th team. I'm gonna play it safe with Virtus Pro.
Okay.
Secret VP, LGD, and Forward would be my top 4. What about you?
I mean, I gotta go Secret. I think they looked really good. They seem to really be gelling as a team. We haven't had a patch since they have looked good, so I assume that they're still gonna look good. LGD, I have to believe that they're, even 70% as good as they were last year. I think that they would be in the top 4. I'm gonna go with EG. I think that with Sumail back and probably being hungry for those DPC points, I'm gonna put EG up there. And man, I really want to put Fnatic in my top 4, but I just don't think I can pick them over VP. So I'm gonna go Virtus Pro. Yeah.
Yeah, Fnatic's a. I don't know about Fnatic for me. I know. I gotta say, I think we even said this when we were doing the power ranking. Southeast Asia right now is not a region I'm expecting a lot out of, as far as like the major events go. But maybe I'll be completely proven wrong. But all right. So you put who's your final team though? Sorry, EG and then who?
VP.
VP. Okay, Virtus Pro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with them. Hey, Team Aster, we really can't overlook them, right? They went to a DSL event.
Yeah, but they just replaced their mid player because they weren't satisfied with their results.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
No longer have the Invoker Spammer D-Stones. This hero pool was way too small, got exposed.
I did hear about that, okay.
At ESL. So they brought in Love You, Love Me, who's from FTD. But that's another team that is not, that well known in the Chinese scene. I mean, they're in the Chinese leagues, but nobody outside of the Chinese region really knows them.
They're one of those like DPL teams that competes always, but
right. And obviously, Sylar looks very, very good. XXS Baboka Fenrir is a really, really good core, but again, mid lane is just like, it's so important right now because it is a one-on-one. And I have not watched Love You, Love Me play, but I have to believe that bringing in a mid laner a week before a tournament is not going to give you enough practice time.
It's not healthy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you figure they could have maybe at least stuck out this event before kicking him, but man, that's kind of brutal, man. Kicking a guy right before the major just because of an early exit in ESL. I mean, but they went 9-1 in groups. Like, they have potential, man. That's brutal. There must have been some behind-the-scenes stuff, too, for sure.
They demoted him to their academy team is what happened. He's not kicked. He's part of the Aster org, but he's not playing.
We like you, but just not that much. So hang in there a little bit, just in case some injury happens or something, because that's something that totally takes place in esports. All right, gotcha. While we're on the topic, actually, of players being kicked or demoted, we forgot to talk about 343. Adam, he was cut from RNG, which was a little surprising to hear. He's solid captain for the team and everything, but he tweeted out a couple days after, he's like, also, I'm looking for a team. Just like, oh, okay. That happened. Yeah, I got to wonder, don't really know the details on that one, but September is a player that's apparently replaced him.
Oh, interesting.
On the squad.
I like that roster a lot.
Yeah.
Sep he looked very, very good a couple of years ago. Interesting. I'm excited to see how they work together.
Checking now.
Was he on LFY?
He was on CDAC.
CDAC, okay.
Yeah. And he played for LGD the year before that even.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, he's definitely been on some top orgs. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know if that's one of those, like, maybe September just became available and they just wanted him instead, or if there was something going on with Adam and the team. Who knows, right? But probably not going to ever know in that case.
Yeah, it could have been language because obviously Adam's been playing mostly in SEA for his entire career, some North America as well. Now going to a Chinese roster. Obviously, Afu also is Malaysian, but he's been kind of in Chinese teams before. So,
yeah, I don't know how much Chinese they speak, obviously, so I can't speak on that personally, but that definitely has potential too. But RNG, one of the many Chinese squads that have to look out for and see how they progress throughout the season. Before we go away from the KL Major, I did want to touch on the visa incident once again, and I guess just give our quick thoughts on the situation and concerning, because so basically there's points being brought up in terms of Valve allowing there to be no penalty in this case. Is it fair, or is it setting a bad precedent? I guess is the best way to put it. In terms of now teams, could they abuse this idea in the future? You know, obviously there is a difference between a country literally not letting a player from a certain country in theirs to compete for the event compared to it just not happening in time, which is what seems to be mostly the issue most of the time. But can a team, I guess, like almost fake that? Can they say like, yeah, no, they literally weren't able to get their visa, we shouldn't get a penalty, you know, we're replacing with this player? I don't know. I guess it's hard to see if it truly can be abused, but it is dangerous when you do these one-off, you know, situations.
There definitely are some pretty serious issues from both sides. Obviously, 40% of their points is a really, really big deal, especially when there's only 5 majors. And really, I mean, the minors matter to get to the majors, but they don't really contribute to DPC prize, or DPC point totals for the most part. So having it be a one-off and like a special treatment obviously is something that we don't want in the scene. At the same time, I agree with the fact that it's the fact that Israelis are not allowed in Malaysia because of the conflict between
the country,
like Muslims and Israeli people is pretty messed up, just from like a political standpoint. So I get that, but at the same time, you would kind of expect Valve to do some research as to where they're hosting these tournaments.
That's true.
And make sure that there are no issues like this. And then the fact that if we look at ESL, or not ESL, no, it was ESL where they had stand-ins, right? Of Yoar and Sumail?
Yes.
Yeah, so the fact that 2 brothers from Pakistan were not allowed to get into Germany, I don't know if that also has something to do with that kind of...
Well, that was a delay to me, because they actually ended up getting their visas after the event finished. They tweeted about that.
Is true. That is true.
Again, that was more of the time constraint issue, which is a little different, right, compared to the...
That is true.
Flat-out restriction.
Right.
It's tough. Yeah, and I don't think anyone, or at least myself too yet, definitely not arguing the fact that Valve did any wrong here in the decision towards NIP. It's just now does this open a Pandora's box? But that's also a good point that you brought up, actually, and something else to think about is, you're right. I mean, doing the research, hosting a tournament for an international game where you literally have players from just so many different countries, with the chances of qualifying for said event, ideally you host it in a country, obviously every country is going to have their own issues to an extent, but where this wouldn't be an issue. There are plenty out there, I feel like. It just, they happen to choose one here in Malaysia that does have said issue. So
yeah, hop across to another island, you're in the Philippines, and there's no problems.
Good to go, right? Yeah, that's something that I think because of this alone, Valve may actually look at this and be like, yeah, we actually might have messed up here. We're not going to host another event in Malaysia. And it sucks for the fans in Malaysia, right? I'm sure they have plenty of good fans there and good people and everything, but you can't have stuff like this come up. I mean, they're not getting penalized, but they're still having to use a stand-in now, which sucks in itself. And there are people that are asking about Fly. Just to clarify that, Fly is obviously Israeli as well. He does also have dual citizenship with Canada, however, so he is actually good. He is there. In fact, I saw a picture of them at a boot camp in Malaysia. Right. So it's just 3-3 that had that issue. And as a result, Mind Control, once again, is replacing him for this event.
Yeah. I will say that esports is kind of an interesting space right now, because I feel like it is also bringing to light a lot of the issues, like the global issues that our entire planet has to deal with, as far as being able to go to countries and how hard it is to get paid from one country to another and stuff like that. So I do like that esports facilitates some of these conversations, unfortunately at the expense of some of the people that are involved in the actual situation.
Yeah, it's you definitely have learned a lot over the years as far as the whole, political spectrum there when it comes to all these different countries and how it can be difficult for people from I forget about that so much. You just think of them as Dota players, like Sumail, for example. You kind of forget sometimes that that's right. He's from Pakistan, which does tend to have troubles getting their citizens into specific countries from time to time. He's got to be one of the more difficult players, no doubt, that has issues with that all the time, and it's unfortunate, but it's real world. it's how the world works, unfortunately. Okay, well.
There was one question in chat, which is just how do we think NIP is going to do at this event with a stand-in, especially of Mind Control's caliber?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer to that?
So I say you're gonna. Okay, well, my quick reaction to that is, if you asked me before the ESL event, I would actually expect them to do pretty well here because obviously I've had hype for this team going in, like many people. But at the ESL performance was a bit of a struggle, and this was a bit of a curveball at the last second too. This is great competition. Long story short, I would not be surprised to see them not even make top 8. It's a tough event. It really is. So, feel different?
No, I tend to agree. I think that top 8 would be a good finish for them. I will say, though, that I think that Mind Control brings a different flavor to the team. I definitely don't think – I'm not trying to say he's a better player than 33, but I think one of the issues that I did notice about NIP is that they just kind of felt slow at ESL. Like, they just seemed kind of slow. Like, there wasn't any real flash to their game. And if you look at their players, Ace is a very stable, solid carry. Fata is a very stable, solid mid. 33, I wouldn't call a flashy player. I would say that his hero pool is kind of flashy and interesting with, Visage and Brood.
He's like a carry off lane.
Right, but it's not like Sumail, who was like, oh, this guy just literally carried a game by himself. Or, Mid One or Nisha both kind of have that ability. No One, Ramses, Miracle. They don't really have anybody that fits that particular style who it feels like can just fully take over a game and win it. But Mind Control kind of does have that. So I am interested to see how he fits in the team.
Yeah, and how that changes up the drafts for PPD as well. Mind Control, great player, but he definitely does have a bit of a different hero pool as you're getting at than 3-3 as most players would. So it'll change things up a bit on that spectrum too. Again, I just go back to it's really not I don't mean it to be a slight on NIP. This is just a very tough event. It's a good event, top tier teams in it across the board. So when you have an issue like this going right into the event last minute, it's going to throw you off a bit, I'm sure. But hey, I would love to be. That's one of those I would absolutely love to be proven wrong. I really would. Of course, no one always rooting for PPD and crew and how they do. Good point on that. Glad you brought that up because actually, especially as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, guys, we don't have delay on today. So if you do have a question, feel free to ask, and we can talk about it pending time, of course, and what topic we happen to be on in that moment. Speaking of that, there's not much else to go over when it comes to the Kuala Lumpur Major. Like I said, the group's not announced yet. There was one other thing, actually. The patch 7.20, ladies and gentlemen, is announced to happen after the Major. So we're not getting it just yet. As kind of expected, though, it's going to be after the Major. People have been bringing up, and I kind of feel like this too, where I don't know why they just don't release the notes at least. You got to figure by now that the notes are ready, but I mean, maybe they're not. It would be fun to kind of get a tease, but I guess you also don't want people getting confused either. You release the notes, all of a sudden people are going to have a different idea of what to expect in games. And
it might also, I don't know, I feel like if I was a pro team and I had my hands on it, I'd have a really hard time focusing on an event. Because, I mean, all speculation points to this being a big game-changing, sweeping changes to everything.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be big.
So it really could be an entirely different game going forward after the patch is released.
There we go. November 19th. Yeah, I wanted to find the article real quick. Let's see. Yeah, it's showing it to you guys.
Same day as Artifact.
Yay! Yeah, I'm just not as hyped for that game, man. I've been on the Magic grind lately, the MTGA grind. I've been having fun with that, but I'll definitely be checking it out. Don't get me wrong. Wait, when it comes out on the 19th, is that the open beta?
That's the beta for beta keys.
So if I don't have a beta key, I can't even play yet.
I guess so.
Want to hook a brother up, yo? You have an extra?
I do actually.
Oh snap! All right, we'll talk after.
We'll talk off the stream.
No, yeah, that's cool too. It's gonna be a busy time for Valve. Big new Dota patch and Artifact coming out. There's that tournament this weekend too, isn't there? Kind of a side topic, I suppose. But
oh yeah, it's gonna be on BTS. So I mean, it's not like we're promoting something else.
That's true. On BTS, the channel we happen to be on.
Yep.
That's going to be starting this weekend. Yeah, it's a special. It is one of those funky things because it's like the game's not even out yet, and people can't actually play the game. Most people can't actually play the game, so it's almost like people can see it as like a slap in the face. Like, we're having fun playing in tournaments already, and you guys just have to sit back and watch. But it's a good promotional tool. I'm excited for it, and to see how that goes. So
yeah, we've got a couple of questions. Might as well answer them.
Sure. What do we got?
Can we talk about TNC and how we think we'll do in this tournament?
Another specific team. TNC. So I said it going in. I Southeast Asia as a region doesn't get me the most hype right now when it comes to their player base. As far as the teams that have been formed specifically, and TMC is frankly no different. I mean, the TMC last year was a team that I liked. Back with Raven and crew. But this season, I mean, it's all Gabby Armel, Cuckoo, Tims, and Ninja Boogie. I love Ninja Boogie, especially from Mineski last season and his history. Another case for me, I don't see them getting top 8 though in this very tough competition.
Yeah, I think that they have the potential to make top. I really do like Armel, and I actually like that Cuckoo 3. He was the captain. He was playing 5. And he played it as if he was a 3, basically. Yeah. Always having tons of farm, playing a 5 Enigma, stuff like that. So I think it's really good that they now actually have a real hard 5 in Ninja Boogie. Provides some more leadership, some more captaining. He played with Mineski, obviously had lots of good experiences learning from people like Mushi and Ice Ice Ice. So I think that he brings a good deal of experience to TNC, which is always something where it's kind of felt like they need like a real firm leader because they have a lot of kind of like wild talent, but it's never really felt that focused in games. So I am very interested to see how they perform and how they stack up against the rest of the world because we've only seen them within the inter-region SEA qualifiers so far.
Mm-hmm. Out of the Southeast Asian teams in this event, I actually think Tigers has the best chance to make top 8. From the momentum they have from DreamLeague, and this is an impressive team. I mean, I don't think that that's that much of a stretch to say that. We're praising them earlier and why we should be impressed by this team and what they bring to the table. I mean, yes, they weren't the cleanest throughout DreamLeague, as we also talked about, but I do think there's something to be said about riding that wave of momentum into this event. It's a home game in a sense for Ajit specifically, and really a lot of these players, being in Southeast Asia, the tournament itself. So. I could definitely see them getting top 8. On the other hand, kind of sticking with the Southeast Asian theme, but not TNC for me.
I still think that Fnatic is the best SCA team, but
MP just scares me, man. I'll just say it how it is. MP, his history has not been impressive. Going back to the Secret, what was that? Not last year, but the season before. I was not surprised to see him kicked after the TI7. That they had there, and just the whole season, I just remember him kind of being a sore thumb for the team that did not really impress at all in most of the matches. So maybe that's changed. I mean, it's now a year and a half later, so I can't say I've been watching Fnatic this season necessarily, but Abed's always a threat too. So I do get them props there for sure.
But, yeah, I don't know. I'm a believer in like the pieces of a team fitting together being the most important part as opposed to like star power, and so. I don't know. I think he fits into this team personally pretty well because it allows Abed to just be the one every single game, which is kind of what he always should have been.
True. That's
But
fair.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see who's wrong and right there. I would like to say, you know, maybe we'll do a show after the KL Major. Last show was a month and a half ago, so who knows? But no, that'll be the plan at least, and we can kind of recap and how it obviously played out in the end. Anything else? Well, there was another question. Oh yeah, this one here from A+. Do you guys think PPD was not taking ESL serious since it was a non-DPC and they were hiding their strategy? I've never been the most sold on that idea personally. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of an argument there, I guess, with DPC being that much more impactful, because if you win a major this season, you're basically guaranteed a TI invite, if I'm not mistaken. The points add up to where you're going to TI9. So it's a very big deal, of course. But ESL still had a pretty hefty prize pool, and on top of that, I don't think teams are going to just be hiding strategies for the sake of hiding them when they need to practice. Like, you could argue it's better to practice those strategies rather than hide these specific strategies. So no, I don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that hiding strategies is a meme.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that actually really happens. And the fact that this would be, you know, NIP's first real big event against real serious competition, there's no way that they would have not taken it seriously.
Yeah. Well, again, one of those cases, love to be surprised by them at this event. How do we think the top teams stack up this season? It's kind of a broad question, really, but I guess in the sense of there's no like obvious team that's ahead.
Should we just go for our power rankings?
I mean, I guess that could lead in, right? That's kind of a nice segue, I suppose, for the power ranking. So, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we did our last podcast a little bit ago now, was we did power rankings for each of the regions and what we thought going into essentially the new DPC season and everything. Okay, so what we can do here, I'm going to show how things looked before. So these are how the rankings were. We're going to do the world rankings. These are how the rankings looked going into the season from both of us. I think we did 12. Yeah, we did top 12%. I don't even know why we did 12, but I think
there were too many that we liked.
Yeah. We did top 12 teams. So these are how things looked going into the season. We both had LGD at the top.
Was it maybe because there were 12 slots going to TI? No, there was 8. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No. Either way, we did 12. There is just a lot of good teams, and this is how it shaped up. Again, this was our before today top rankings, but this is how it looks. So now going back to the point, well, I guess, okay, let's just do our now rankings. Let's just do it.
All right.
Here, let me just actually, on the fly here, top 12 rankings. What is the date today? 11/6. Okay, so yeah, elevated. I mean, do you have yours? Do you want to do yours now?
Sure.
All right, let's just do yours first.
Okay. So I guess without really seeing them play, it's kind of hard to rank LGD anywhere other than still number 1. But it's either them or Secret at this point. So, I mean, I guess I have to go Secret because they've looked the best. And they beat LGD at an event, you know, not a big event necessarily, but they did beat LGD. So I guess I have to go Secret 1, LGD 2.
Okay.
And then after that, man, it gets real muddy really
it really
quick.
Does.
So, I mean, I still think that EG with Sumail is a top 3 team.
Okay.
And after that, I mean, I guess I'm going to go with VP since I have them in my top 4 at the KL Major. From there, I mean, obviously you can see I don't have Liquid on the list. I do have Liquid, but I have them like 9th. I feel like they can't even be on my list anymore.
No.
I obviously made a big mistake with NIP.
OG is the same thing, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, what is OG? Are they a team? Who knows?
Do they exist anymore? I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, so let me look at this so we can see where we are. Okay, so Secret, PSG, LGD, EG. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and put Fnatic,
Right.
followed by Aster. Actually, sorry, Forward Gaming, then Fnatic, then Aster. I'll have to remember the full Forward roster. Quite good.
As I like to call them, Freedom Gaming.
Freedom Gaming. Fnatic, Aster. Then I would say, man, Vici.
7 here. Vici, all right.
Actually, I should switch Vici and Aster.
Okay, come on now. You got to stick to your guns, man.
Sorry, switching Vici and Aster. That's the last one I'll change. From there, let's go TNC. Let's go Pain. J-Storm. OG, I guess.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So
I feel like OG has to be on the list.
That's 12 then, if you have OG last then. Okay.
Okay, then yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it definitely changed quite a bit. No Liquid makes sense, but yeah, I guess everything else is kind of there. All right. What do I got? Okay, so I'm with you. I was thinking about it too. Secret has to be number 1 for me. It's again they looked good at ESL. Now when it comes to them beating PSG, like you're not wrong there, but that event as a whole, they literally played 1 series against them. Right. There's a quick 2-0. Like I don't take anything from that, so I'm not like, oh, they beat them, they're better. But ESL more so for me, of course, is the reason I have them over LGD for now. Then I'm going to go with VP. Then I'm going to go with Forward Gaming. I'll put EG right after them. So, yeah, my top 4 from KL as well. And then EG just on the outside looking in. I'm going to go with Vici Gaming in 6. Obviously, they had an impressive run to at ESL, and their roster is looking very good. I will put – see, I wanted to put Aster, but – with that roster change now, you kind of scared me a little bit. Course,
yeah, I probably ranked them too high in mine.
Yeah. The roster change kind of throws things off a little bit. So I'm going to go with, I kind of want to – I've been more and more impressed by Pain Gaming, or they've been playing recently. I think they're worthy of being in that, what was that, the 6th spot? Yeah, no, 7. 7th spot. But either way, worthy being there. So I got Pain in the 7th spot. I'll put all right. I'm going to put Fnatic, and then I'm going to put Tigers. I know I said I think Tigers has top 8, but that's just the momentum thing. As far as overall power rankings, I still would have Fnatic over Tigers right now. Let's go with J-Storm, Tigers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ugh, still need 2 more teams. We'll go to Aster, and then Complexity.
No OG anywhere, huh?
No, that's what I'm thinking. Do I put them as my 12th team, or do I just say, OG, you've disappointed me this season? I mean, I feel like they have to play. Like it was one thing to rank them initially, but they literally haven't even shown up.
They're not even playing the major, which is very interesting. We still don't know whether Anna's still on the team or whether he retired again.
Yeah, Liquid and OG, both TI champions the last 2 years. Apparently winning TI just throws everything off. God, as far as the last team, I really don't even know right now. Who's another team from the Kuala Lumpur major that I could throw on there?
TNC?
Ugh.
Jeez.
Do I have to?
Gambit?
I almost would throw Alliance. Yeah, that's
such a
is that
fanboy.
Alliance making top 12.
Such a fanboy. Oh
all right, we're good. There's my top 12. Alliance squeaks in.
Just discredits your entire list.
Alliance is going top 4 this Kuala Lumpur major, man.
All right.
All right, that's maybe a stretch. Yeah. It's been a rough start for Alliance this season. I want to say they might surprise here at the major, but it feels weird saying that. So no, not gonna have high expectations for them in the major. But damn it, top 12 team. No, actually, that's a good point. I should put NIP there. What am I thinking?
Yeah, both of those completely dropped NIP. I would definitely put NIP, JStorm, and OG on my list as well. Just totally forgot.
Yeah. I think NIP was an overlooked oopsie team for both of us. Yeah. This is why we should do it beforehand. Not in the moment. They're trying to think about it. All right, these are the rankings that we came up with. NIP dropping all the way to 12th for me. Not even on your list completely. Because their horrible performance at ESL.
Fairweather fans at its finest right now.
All right. Spoiler alert, they'll probably climb back up by our next power rankings.
Yeah.
There's a good
Although they
chance
have to play with a real actual lineup.
Yeah.
Not standing, so.
That's true. All right. There we go. So power rankings, obviously, guys, as always, just for fun in the end. It does help bring up some good discussion, though, and get a good idea of how things are flowing throughout the season. But, again, this is our first major now, so we are going to get a lot more of an idea of how things are looking. And I go back to, I mean, if you win this major, you are going to TI9. So that's how the math works, because showing you guys once again, it's 4,950 DPC points, which from the math, like I was saying, I think that actually does qualify for you for a spot at TI9. So
pretty sure that's correct.
So yeah, pretty big deal. On top of the $1 million prize pool. All starts this Friday coming up. All right, what else do we want to go over here? A couple things, I suppose. There is the WESG event. Is kind of taking place right now. The qualifiers all sporadic as they always are. In fact, you and I were just in Canada. It was kind of a last-minute thing, but we were casting the Canadian finals like I was mentioning earlier. So got to do that and got our team that qualified out of Canada as a result. There, bottom, as everyone expected. No, but that was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun event. Sort of an interesting way that they qualified, but.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that. But it'll be interesting to see how they do there at the event. Definitely a solid roster. It's really cool to meet all these guys in person too at this event. A player like God Z. I know that you had talked about him going into the event, and I've never even heard of the guy, frankly. But just getting to hang out with him at the event and talk with him, and really good group of guys.
Playing some party queue at a LAN center afterwards with some of the guys who were qualifying for WSG.
That was a pretty good time. All right, so again, a quick reiteration of what the WSG is. It's just all these countries. Basically, you compete for your country, so these teams form. You have to all be from the same country, and then you ultimately qualify to then compete at the main event, and then there's a $1 million prize pool and everything. It's pretty cool. Different format. So I'm also now looking at one of the other qualifiers that's going on. This is the Northern Europe Open qualifier. So this is an open qualifier, and then this qualifies you for the closed event, which then will determine for the main event.
Okay.
Apparently, and the
Which
finals
just two teams get to the.
Yeah, because it's obviously you can't have each individual country, so they have regions instead for some of the places. But it's the final tribe, which is an all Swedish team, of course. They're going up against 3 Aegises and 2 Anchors. So. Speaking of where the hell is OG and Liquid, they're busy playing in WESG apparently.
Yep.
Thompson, Matumba, Boogie, Jerix, Pexu. That's a good roster, man. Maybe they're just going to form a team, dude. That's going to be the new it's going to be OG Liquid.
That would be the pages of Reddit posts that we would see if that happened.
Yeah.
Can only imagine. But man, if they beat the final tribe, the final tribe is having a rough start.
TFT should not lose that. I don't care that these are good players and everything. They should not lose that. They're a team that's been practiced for a while now. and with decently high expectations, they should qualify for this. So
Agreed.
now I think a majority of the community would love to see 3 agents and 2 anchors qualify. Let's be honest,
For sure, for sure.
I feel like TFT should, and I wouldn't mind seeing them qualify either. Representing the Nordic region essentially.
Yep.
Over there. Yeah, I mean there's a couple other, I think. Wait, North Europe main qualifier. Okay, so yeah, that's what that is. So there's going to be
Republic and
there's going to be a second open qualifier. So even if they don't win this one, they can still have another chance in the open
to
qualifier.
Get to that final ultimate.
Yeah, to then get to the closed qualifiers and then there to the so it's this event, let's just wait till they actually qualify. There's just so much that goes on.
There's in like some of the regions have actual monetary incentives. I think like USA has like $20,000 as a first place and the spot at WSG. Canada at $15,000, but then there's like the Philippines, which TNC qualified and they won like $700.
It's a little weird.
Kind of all across the board right now.
A little skewed, yeah. Doesn't make the most sense there. So yeah, we'll just wait for that main event to ultimately kind of come together before really breaking it down. Another kind of just side event here is getting a little bit longer on the podcast. I don't want to do too much longer, but a couple other things to go over. DPL. This is aka the Dota 2 Professional League. It's a popular league, really, format that happens in China every single year, and usually also helps you qualify for some big event. Sometimes I don't know if this one does, to be honest. But point is, there's a lot of money on the line, $1 million CNY there, which I don't know what that actually comes out to. It doesn't actually have the currency.
145.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
USD.
145,000 USD. Point, it's a league format that it's I think it's online technically, but obviously they all play for the team houses or whatever, and it's just it's we've talked about this before, how it'd be really cool for other regions to have seasons like this within their own region. So, you're not just relying on the DPC. And that's one of the advantages of China, and why they do seem to have some advantages as far as like having many teams across the board that can compete at that top level. So, fun to always see this event get started, and obviously we'll keep an eye on it and how it looks. All the big name China teams are here, I believe. Is there anyone that's obviously missing? I don't think so.
Nope.
Yeah, no, looks like they're all there pretty much. So, group's announced. And when does that start? The 21st. So we still got a little bit before it starts, but the 21st of this month is when it kicks off. All right. Anything else to say?
No, not really. I mean, just if you want to do some research into the Chinese region, see who actually really is the strongest, this would be the event to watch.
Yeah. All right. NADCL. I was actually going to pull up some info on that, but I'm noticing, do they not have an NADCL page on Wikipedia?
They definitely have listed the event, or like the
I thought game. They had, yeah. So I'm like, I was looking for it real quickly, but it's not pulling up for me. Huh. Well, unfortunately, oh wait, here. Nope, I think I found it. Yep, we got it. We're good. Boom. How are we doing here? So yeah, Runes ended up withdrawing, by the way, because of their schedule conflicts and everything. It just got too busy for them. So Vendetta actually leads the regular season record overall, 16-4, 6-4 individual records. So how does they play best of threes, right? And okay, and are they done? No, they still have some matches to play in the regular season, it looks like. They are getting down to the wire, though, and then the top 4 teams advance on to a playoff bracket. Is how it ultimately works there. So.
Truffle Salt, which is Grand's team, is second place.
That's crazy.
That's unbelievable.
I guarantee you even Grant would say, like, how the hell are we here?
He's like, guys, I have to go work events. We're winning too much.
That's great, though. MGW. B, is that Boris? Bleak. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason I get those mixed up. And then Grant. There was okay. So Vendetta. I'll talk about that real quickly. I heard that Vendetta is going to be replacing a couple players on the team.
Yep.
So I think it was Sammy Boy, Robot Vice, and
Gunner are going to be on the
okay.
team.
And they're going to replace two other players, so things just aren't working out, it sounds like. So, despite them being on top of the groups, I mean, that's one of those interesting situations. But
yeah, I honestly haven't watched a whole lot of NID. So much Dota going on, and I just haven't really had the time.
That's what I was saying. I had to pull that out because, frankly, I haven't been able to pay the most attention to it. But come the playoffs, it'll be fun. It seems like I see the tweets constantly from PPD and NADCL, and hopefully it does good enough to the point that again they continue moving forward. It seems like the teams have been enjoying it at least, and it's a proving ground for them, which was the ultimate point, really.
I think the big thing will be when we start seeing some of the teams that play in it have success, or at least some of the players getting picked up by big NA orgs. If Runes, for example, plays very highly at DreamLeague, that would have been, like, oh, okay, they played NADCL and now they're winning DPC points. But it hasn't happened yet. But hopefully it will, because NA region could definitely use some more depth as far as the world scene goes.
I agree there, and that was the ultimate goal of it. So it'll be fun to see how that finishes up, and as you said, the progress as far as some players maybe getting picked up some bigger name teams. One other thing that actually caught my attention was this post right here. The guy. Oh. Interesting. So there's about EE, Eternal Envy and Scam no longer following each other on Twitter, and their bios even changed. Scam also removed EE from his bio on top of that. So it's some silly drama, but with what happened at DreamLeague, you do kind of wonder, is there actually something here with Complexity? And is Scam going to be out, and will somebody else be coming in? Perhaps one of those NADCL players. Who knows?
Yeah, normally you wouldn't read too much into this, but you do have to remember that Complexity is owned by the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes.
And this is a really big deal. This is an organization that is going to 100% distance itself from any even remotely controversial drama, especially if they're now, dumping a bunch of money into the Complexity organization. Like, there's really no room to make a mistake like that if you're part of a $1 billion company.
Yeah. So that's I'm with you there. I would not be surprised if they talked it over and Scam's a good player, but is he really that a player that they're like, oh, okay, well we can overlook this? Probably not. So yeah, I would not be surprised if that actually does end up happening. And obviously we haven't heard anything yet, but they're not playing in the major. They have a little bit of time before their next event, so I would believe that they're possibly talking to other players. Again, this is all rumor. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. There's no proof on any of this, but it definitely would not be surprising if they ultimately end up replacing him.
They're going to put E on the 1. We're going to bring Kyle back. Or
I don't know how I feel about that.
or as Sadie Lady's saying, it could be Complexity BSJ if he's going to be leaving the Runes.
God. I say it like that because obviously I love BSJ, but I still stand by, unless BSJ quits his streaming career, he's never going to be a top tier, on a very, very successful team, in my opinion. It's just not going to happen. You can't be doing both at that level. So that'd be fun. And maybe he would give up his streaming side to compete with a team like Complexity. And that would be interesting. But
I would pay for the in-game comms, have access to the in-game comms.
Oh, yeah.
BSJ and EE.
Him and EE. That's a whole other story. I mean, yeah, I don't want to get lost in talking about Complexity here. But, God, having Z-Freak on the 5 and playing heroes like Ogre Magi and just like, what are you doing, guys? It hurts. It was hurting at DreamLeague, man, watching that sometimes. Just feeling this player's way too good to be putting on a guy that just is a bloodlust bot and melees people occasionally. So, all right, this is not a Complexity podcast, though. Let's not delve too much into that. I think we've made it. I think we're good. Unless anyone else in chat has any quick questions for us, I think we're good to wrap it up. made it through another show, episode number 10.
Nice job, buddy.
Good job to you as well. So yeah, any shout outs, any last words from yourself, Mr. Elevator, before we do wrap this up officially?
You know, shout out to pizza, my favorite food.
Okay.
And thank you to Sir Action Slacks for giving, pizza a front and center spot at DreamLeague.
I see where you're going with that. All right. That was just weird, but it's Slacks, I wouldn't expect anything less, I guess.
Pretty normal.
He got it. He got his Pizza Hut in the end. So, congrats to him, I guess. Okay, we are going to be wrapping up, though. So, thank you, as always, for tuning in, guys. That'll do it for episode number 10 in the books. We hopefully will be back after the Kuala Lumpur Major. I think it's safe to say that would make the most sense. Kind of recap that event, preview, obviously, what's coming up next. Oh, one other thing we actually forgot to mention was also another pretty big announcement was the second major of the season was officially announced. It's going to be produced by Starladder, as well as, was it Imba TV?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken. So, yeah. It's going to be happening in January, and it's going to be in
Chongqing.
Chongqing. I played a sound file.
Okay.
Because I did not want to mess it up. But my American accent does.
At least you tried.
That's what I'm going with.
Cool. Yeah, I saw a picture of the city. It looks kind of cool. It's like on a river.
Yeah.
And I saw some other thing that they're building some like massive esports stadium. So I don't know if it's going to be done in time for that, but it'd be cool if it was. It looks really cool.
That'd be great. And obviously TI9 is going to be in Shanghai in China, so China's definitely getting a lot of love this year when it comes to hosting some events.
Yeah, and I also got to say, I really like the fact that after last year, with anybody seemed to be able to organize a tournament, we've got Starladder, we've got DreamLeague, we've got PGL. Like we've got these proven companies.
You got
that have
no
put on
names,
good
no GESC
Exactly.
here, man.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, that's a sour topic. All right, on that note, we are going to wrap it up officially. Episode number 10 is now in the books. Have a good night, guys. I was BreakyCPK, joined by Elevated. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you after the Kuala Lumpur Major. With that in mind, enjoy it. It starts this Friday. See you guys next time.